So we came to our friend Ernesto Nemesio, our a painter friend, an incredibly talented painter friend's atelier, studio. And while he was painting still lifes next to us in oil, we shamelessly did the digital painting next to him.
Yeah, it was great. We knew we wanted to do a painting with materials. What's great about Ernesto's studio is that he's got tons of kind of little things all around, stuff that he's painted in still lifes or want to paint in still lifes, that sort of thing. So it was a great place to go for us. And of course, hang out with Ernesto. It's great to be surrounded by all his beautiful paintings in his studio.
So for this particular demo, I picked this kind of a cluttered shelf cabinet, and he had a bunch of like bottles with linseed oils and all the painting materials and paint box and the brass pot and stuff like that. It was really cool, but at the same time it was challenging because it just was quite complicated, and the challenge was to, just like last lecture, how to group it, simplify it, yet try to capture materials, which is the focus of this week's class.
Yeah, I think what's great, I mean, what I'm curious about right here is, like, it's really interesting to see, like, the assignment is about, this painting really is about materials. But at this point, are you really thinking about how the materials are different, or trying to capture it visually, kind of abstractly?
I definitely thought about the material contrast when I picked this subject to paint. But when I started painting, I don't know if I was thinking about that too much. I felt like it's still the same drill, like other, like last week's demo, that I just mainly focused on capturing this abstract composition that works for me artistically, and how I can simplify, start with very simple and then just kind of breaking down into smaller shapes as I went.
Well, like right now, you're painting this. What is that? A frame or a box? It's a box. It looks like some sort of paint box
yeah.
almost. And you're painting quite a bit of that in kind of comparison to the development of the entire painting. At this point, like I could see, like it feels like you have your brightest value and your darkest value. Mm-hmm. What's kind of the thinking of getting into the box at this point?
This is actually, it's actually a good thing that we talk about this, because this is really where I got caught up in just painting one object at a time. And you can kind of see I spent a lot of time just creating this box, getting into small places and just getting into subtle colors, and kind of forgetting about this whole, what the exercise was about, and, I was, fixing drawings, and which is totally fine, but I just felt like I started off a little on the wrong foot in a way, and eventually I'll kind of find myself doing that, like kind of noodling already, too soon. But I thought it was kind of cool that I'm, even when I'm trying to teach this class, I'm struggling myself and finding myself doing the bad habit, but I thought it would be kind of nice to share that as well. And here, I love you to kind of focus on this part that I'm very proud of. Check this out. This, when I'm actually working on the bunch of bottles in front of me. This is after I spent a lot of time just kind of getting this box, pochette box, right? And realize, oh my God, I'm just spending so much time just getting each individual object one by one, and that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I should be really responding to mass, like grouping and just kind of big shapes. And I was just kind of trying to force myself to not really think about each small bottles, because I don't even remember, but there were like 6, 7, 8 bottles bunched together. And but if I squinted my eyes, it definitely was disappearing in terms of like where, like the separation of the bottles wasn't quite there, and all I saw was just labels and this linseed oil kind of getting this translucent, light coming through it, and some are empty, so you're seeing through what's behind it. And then you have this reflection on the bottle, and some bottle was clear, some bottle was kind of brown. But without really thinking about too much, I just kind of went trusting my eyes and just kind of putting, final highlight. And it started to feel like, it starts to feel like what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. And not, perspective's off, and let's just not worry about that at this point. I think one thing, every time we paint, right, we realize that, oh, shoot, this is just so hard. And I think it's very important that it's not like a formula that you learn and you're done with it. Like it'll remind you how hard painting is, period. And, of course, we're here to teach, and you are paying to listen to what we have to say. But, we apologize, but we are learning too. And hopefully that actually makes it, in a way, stronger for you guys to kind of, go on to your own journey, that we too are struggling as we do these paintings and learning every single time. Sometimes you have to relearn too, and sometimes what you learned last week is not valid this week. It does happen, but we're trying to articulate as we learn what we learned,
What I like about it is in a simplified way, you're actually representing glass and metal and, the paintbrush versus wood. Can you talk us through some of that stuff? Like what you are observing?
Really interesting, right? Like we spent quite a bit of time in the lecture how each sort of a reflective material or the translucent material or the matte surface reacts to light. And it's a very important knowledge to have. But when you're painting, there's a danger of getting distracted by the knowledge and then you forget observing. It happens to me all the time. I don't know about you guys, but it happens to me all the time. And it's important for me, at least for me, to really focus on what I'm seeing. And as I paint, I start to sort of analyze, why am I seeing this way? Why is this object kind of reacting to light this way in front of my eyes? And as I paint, I start to analyze afterwards. So it's totally fine to analyze what's going on in front of you, but I would be very careful not to overdo it, because then you stop observing. Because, even for us, we've been very conscious of these sort of material studies for our professional work and everything, but we still sort of discover new sort of things that nature kind of represents, in real life. And when we are studying from life, I think it's important that we accept everything we're seeing. But if you try to take everything in and then analyze your painting based on your knowledge, that makes your knowledge even stronger, I feel like.
So interesting. I'm not to counter, but actually, I think it'll be great to kind of see, obviously, we painted at the same time and everything like that, and we were kind of observing in the same kind of area and everything. We both did paintings. But actually, my thinking and approach was very different than this.
Yeah.
The whole time, all I was thinking was really studying the objects and really trying to study what those things are, not too worried about actually how the painting is looking,
right.
And just trying to analyze it so that if I ever had to paint these objects out of my head, that I kind of fundamentally understand what's going on with those objects. So I must say that my painting itself, I don't think is like something that I look at and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful, let's put it in a frame and kind of I'm proud of this image, so much as it is a representation of the study that I'm doing. It's like my notes, almost, of how these objects are reacting in the light that I'm seeing. And so in that way, it's an interesting contrast, I think, to what you're saying. Not that one is right or not.
But I think we're saying a similar thing in a way, though. I think both of us are saying, let's study, let's use this opportunity to kind of learn from nature, whether you do it while observing or while you're painting.
Totally.
The danger is to kind of say, oh, that's the metal, and I know how to paint metal. And then you just paint metal without looking, which, believe it or not, happens all the time. Even to me, we get into this lazy mode of it's supposed to look like this, as opposed to really observe what's going on.
Totally. Yes, absolutely. No, I absolutely agree. I mean, I can only think of like when I'm drawing and I'm drawing ahead, I get into this mode sometimes where I stop observing and I'm just like, oh, I know what an eye socket and eyeball looks like, and I know these things about it, and I start actually making symbols for things rather than actually drawing what I see. And I guess you're totally right. It's similar to painting. Yeah.
Okay, so this is how I finish up this painting, and this was a complicated painting, but you know, I was able to correct it, I feel like, in the middle of it, and I was able to capture the feeling of it, I think. You know, it took me a little longer than I wanted because I kind of went a little off track in the beginning, but yeah, here it is.